Max Weber. Okay. So as I said, no, his sociology emphasized on these concepts. Interpretative sociology. Why it is interpretative sociology? Because individual actions have different meanings and motives. If you want to understand these meanings and motives, you have to step into and you have to interpret it. Okay. So he's a German sociologist like Karl Marx. He's a founder of interpretative action, and his sociology is anti-positivist antaru gani. In general standard books, you don't see anti-positivism. You only see non-positivism. No need to worry. Non-positivism and anti-positivism more or less same. Okay. Positivism is saying that sociology can be studied as natural science. Non-positivism will say that you cannot. Sociology is a science. We can find out patterns. See, remember, chala important. This point is very important. Weber is not saying that sociology is not science. Weber is saying that sociology can be studied science. What is science? You can find out patterns. Yes, social actions also we can find out pattern. Now, individual husband in a family will become, he might be dominating husband. He might be less dominating husband. He might be a husband who will be giving equal opportunities or emphasizing on equality between husband and wife. There is pattern. You understand my point? At the end of the day, non-positivists are also finding patterns. But what non-positivists are saying that true objectivity cannot be achieved. Okay, we find out patterns, but you have to understand there is a subjectivity which is involved. Okay, so he focused on interpretative sociology. What is the interpretative sociology? Understand social action through the subjective meaning actors attach to it. Okay, so how actors are attaching meanings. So based on that, understand the social action through subjective meaning actors attached to it. Okay, use Verstehen method. Verstehen method means nothing but empathetic method. Empathetic means don't judge what individual is doing. Don't judge what individual is doing. But as I said, no, your values should not be separate. You just have to study what is his behavior. As a sociologist, you have to understand what is the behavior of an individual. For suppose, as a student, you should just judge my subject knowledge. You should not be concerned about my personal matters, whether I am married, whether I have any other personal thing. You should judge only based on this. But if you are judging based on other things, now don't you think your judgment will be wrong with respect to my teaching? So that is what he is saying, and he is saying that whenever you are doing research, you are going on interpretative method, means you are entering into the shoes of individual. But you do research, you be empathetic to the role. Means empathetic means sympathy, empathy, sympathy means చూసి అయ్యో పాపం అనడం. Sympathy means you are sympathizing with someone, like there is an accident. You sympathize, ayyo, accident happened. Empathy means you go and you do your role, either calling ambulance. When some accident happens, there are two type of people. Some people will be sympathetic, some people will be empathetic. Immediately they will take action. Okay, means empathetic means if I was in that position, how much I would have affected. That is the reason why I will take necessary action. You understand my point? So in sociology also, when you are understanding the social action, means when an individual is, why an individual is behaving, how an individual is behaving. So you have to be empathetic. See, I know this Weber is very complex. To summarize in a short, it is not there, because he'll talk about value neutrality, again he will talk about empathetic. So that is the reason why Weber was also criticized. How Durkheim will be criticized, Weber will also be criticized. See, no one's sociology is perfect. And when we are talking about sociology also, sociologist also, Gurtupetkondi, remember when you are talking about sociologist, when we are studying about Karl Marx, you should not remember Durkheim. When you are studying about Durkheim, you should not remember Karl Marx. When you are studying about Weber, you should not remember Durkheim. Durkheim said that you have to give emphasis to society. When you are studying Weber, if you think that sociology should be studied giving importance to society, if you keep that idea in mind by studying Weber, you will never understand Weber, because you have to forget Weber, Durkheim, and you have to enter into Weber. So that is the reason why he emphasized on social action. He emphasized on when you are studying an individual action, you have to be empathetic. Empathetic means you have to step into the shoes of that actors and think that why he made that. Okay, so we'll discuss that. Okay, so interpretative and empathetic. Value neutrality. Sociologist personal values must not influence research. He is asking you to be empathetic, but he is not asking you to do research by influencing your values. When you are doing research, your values should be neutral. As I said, no. When you are an upper caste, when you are studying about caste system, your upper caste value should be kept at bay in studying about caste system. If at all an upper caste is not value neutral and doing research, he will never conclude a research saying that caste system or untouchability is discriminating, untouchability is exploitative. He will never understand that. You understand my point? He will never understand, he will never able to understand. If at all, let me tell you, I'll give you this example. I found it very interesting and intriguing as well. You know, I have seen many people, I have interacted with many people and my friends who were married and many of their wives are also working. When I interact with them, when I was discussing with them, you know, they say in their interaction, what did I found out is when they were interacting, when I was talking about their partners, he used to say that I am feminist. Okay. Feminist means giving importance to women. Giving importance to women gadu, emphasizing that women are equal. Bottom line of feminism means emphasizing that women are equal, or to an extent emphasizing that women are being exploited, discrimination. They have to given better opportunities for development. Men will say that they will say that I am feminist, and they will say that, you know, I am so much gender sensitive. I give importance to gender equality. That is the reason why I give enough space for my wife to do work. Means nothing but enough space for my wife to do work means I will not obstruct my wife to do job. Okay. So have you understood this statement? He is saying that he is giving enough space for his wife. Now the problem is, who are you to give enough space? If she wants, she will take. Are you understanding what I am trying to say? Now, when I was talking about this concept, value neutrality, you are truly not gender sensitized. That is the reason why you are saying that I will give space. If you are truly gender sensitive, you will say that me and my wife are equal. She excels in that work, I excel in my work. We complement each other. Is over. I am giving permission for her to work. That itself is saying that you are not gender neutral. You understand my point? If such a type of person, the person which I have said, is doing a research on feminism or patriarchy, will he ever find out the pattern in men domination? He will say that no, there is no men domination. Both men and women are equal. That is the reason why to come out to sociology, to extract sociological realities, you have to be value neutral. Upper caste, if at all he is guided by his own values, he will feel that upper caste are not exploited. But if upper caste is doing a research on caste system, if he feel that if he keeps his values away and if he does the research, then you will find that there is a pattern of discrimination. Okay, so that is the reason why Weber emphasized on value neutrality. Weber also emphasized on ideal type, a logical, consistent conceptual model of a social phenomenon. You understand my point? What is ideal type? You are understanding a social phenomena. This social phenomena might be caste system. This social phenomena might be religion. This social phenomena might be patriarchy. So before understanding these concepts, you are constructing a logical parameters. You are constructing a structure, skeleton you are constructing. This skeleton will give understanding about this social phenomena. Means you are understanding one dimension of reality. You are understanding, you are trying to look that reality in one framework. You understand my point? Means to understand the reality, what is that structure you are constructing? Because for a blind man, means nothing but ideal type is a stick to a blind man to reach his destination. For a sociologist to understand this social phenomena, ideal type is nothing but a logical construction. You understand my point? So for a blind man, or for a blind person, stick is going to be that ideal type to reach his destination. For a sociologist to study any social phenomena, ideal type is going to be that yardstick, that stick which will guide them to finish their research. You understood? So that is what is ideal type. And this ideal type highlights its key features for analytical purpose. Okay. And ideal type is not a real world description. Ideal type is not a real world description. It is just one aspect of reality. It is an analytical tool. Okay. If you want to understand bureaucracy, I am telling you no. If someone says that I'll explain you bureaucracy, don't believe. Because the reality of bureaucracy, even a collector cannot explain. The working collector. Because he never know when one MLA was there, the working of that will be one way. If another MLA is interfering, the bureaucracy will be very difficult. Okay, bureaucracy in one district will be different. Bureaucracy under Chandrababu Naidu government will be different. Bureaucracy, the way bureaucracy is functioning under YS Jagan will be different. Some change will be happening. So what do we study in reality? Bureaucracy is ideal type of bureaucracy. The reality you will explore. Okay, next. How Durkheim studied about religion. Weber also studied about religion. This is very interesting. Listen. Durkheim studied about religion with what context? In simple society, religion was unifying the society and promoting stability of the society. He also want to bring such type of religion, and by studying the religion, he brought this concept called civil religion. Weber also studied about religion, but what he saw is in some religions, okay, let me tell you. First try to understand simply, then we'll come to this concept. Recently, in Telangana, there was one issue. Have you heard of that issue? Marwadi go back movement. Marwadi go back movement. You haven't heard. Marwadi is a business community. There are some rural Telangana people, they said that Marwadis are occupying the business in rural areas. If there is a retail shop, okay, if there is a retail shop, any shops is been opened by Marwadis, means other community people are not able to withhold the competition of Marwadis. That is the reason why Marwadi go back movement happened. So what is the problem is this Marwadi community, the reality is Marwadi community is an upper caste community. They know that there is so much of competition in jobs. That is the reason why what they have done is they made their source of livelihood as business. From childhood, if a child is from business family, don't you think he will learn all the business tactics from his parents or his family members? Tomorrow he'll become successful business. Other communities in Telangana are not able to compete with this Marwadi community. Now you understood? So there are certain communities where children learn that culture. On the same lines, there are certain religions that religion promotes such a type of ethics. That ethics will promote capitalism. Capitalism means entrepreneur. Now, if a child born in Marwadi community, if a child born in other community, with this example, who will become successful business person? More often than not, means frequently. Child born in Marwadi community. Okay. In India, there are also Jains. You know, Jains are one of the richest community in India. They are religious minorities. Means compared to population, they are few. But you know, top industrialists are Jains. Top industrialists in India are majorly from Jain community. Jain community is one of the most successful business community. For suppose, if at all a Jain person, is establishing a factory and other community is establishing a factory, you go to a bank saying that, sir, I want to start a company. By looking at the Jain, that business person automatically will give you loan. Other community person, he might not give, he might not be interested, because he knows that this community people have a strong community feeling. If a person is establishing a company, another Jain will come and help him. Other Jain will teach him proper business ethics, you know. So Weber is one sociologist. What he have done is, by taking this example, in some religious communities in the world, especially Protestants, Catholics, Protestants, you know. So Protestants is that religious community. In Protestants, there is a religious belief. This religious belief is promoting, or religious practices, religious ethics is promoting a work culture, and that work culture is promoting capitalism. Means, in simple Gajapali ante, in Protestants, let me tell you simply, and we'll learn about concept. If there is in West, there were Catholics and Protestants. Protestants believe that worshipping God is nothing but working hard. If you work hard, you will get heaven. If you don't work hard, you will not be, you don't have a place in heaven. Automatically what happens? People will work hard. When people are working hard, don't you think they will become more successful? People who work hard will become more successful. So, Protestant religion is promoting hardworking capability. Hardworking capability is making them successful. So, Weber was one sociologist who saw that Protestant ethics is leading to capitalism. Means, Protestant religion is promoting capitalism. That is the reason why Weber saw every religion people were not becoming capitalist, but majorly Protestant people were becoming capitalist. When he done the research, what happened is, why only Protestant people were becoming more successful? Then he saw it has a relationship between religion. So Weber, now you see, the Protestant work ethic, especially Calvinist, helped create the spirit of capitalism by valuing hard work, saving and reinvesting profits. In Protestant religion, for them, religion is nothing but working hard. Religion is nothing but don't go for lavish living. Lavish living is you earn 10 crores, you spend 9.5 crores on promoting your business. If there is some other religion people, what they will do is, if they get 10 crore people, they will buy 9 crore Land Rover, Range Rover, and 1 crore they will invest in that company. But if the religion itself, the culture which is emanating from the religion is saying that you should not go for lavish living, you should go for reinvesting. Reinvesting means the money which you earn, don't spend on reinvesting. Automatically what happens? People will become capitalist. So Weber was one sociologist who saw, interesting, ఈ కాన్సెప్ట్ ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్ కదా. సో వెబర్ వాజ్ వన్ సోషాలజిస్ట్ హూ సా హౌ capitalism developed because of Protestant ethics. Protestant ethics is because of Protestant religion. And he talked about how Protestants were becoming successful capitalists, how Catholics were not able to become successful capitalists. Why? In Catholics, there was no culture called, no ethics called, you have to work hard, you have to, if God only will select, if there is only space in the heaven for the people who will work hard. In Catholics, there is no such type of belief system. In Catholics, there is no such type of belief system where you will say that you should not go for lavish spending. Okay. Weber not only talked about emergence of capitalism or the spirit of capitalism driven by Protestant ethics, he also compared why that spirit of capitalism is not present in other religion. And for that matter, Weber studied the spirit of capitalism which is seen in Protestant religion, which was not seen in Hinduism. In India, why? Listen carefully. Now you understood this concept? Means nothing but Protestant religion. Simple ga. Protestant religion motivated people to work hard. Once you work hard, you will become industrialist. Weber gave the clarity that why West became a capitalist world. Industrial revolution, all these things developed in West. No. Why capitalism developed in West? Why capitalism did not develop in India? Because of religion differences. When you talk about India, religions originated in India. When you talk about Hinduism, what Hinduism is saying? That first of all, Hinduism is saying that you don't go for what you say. Do you see that spirit of capitalism promoted by Hinduism? You don't see that spirit of capitalism which is promoted by Hinduism, because Hinduism is saying that this material world is first of all, Hinduism will say that dharma, you have to do social service. Whatever you earn, you will do social service. But Protestant ethics is saying that whatever you are earning, you have to reinvest. They are not saying reinvest in a company, but they are not saying that you have to do dharma. So he compared a different religion. What is the belief system in Protestant ethics? What is the belief system in Hinduism? What is the belief system in other religion? And why only spirit of capitalism is driven by Protestant ethics? Why spirit of capitalism is not driven by Catholics? Why spirit of capitalism is not driven by in Hinduism? When we are talking about Hinduism, what happens? Don't you see in Hinduism, people live for family. When you are living for family, you will, whatever you are earning, you are spending for family. Where do you have money to reinvest? When you don't have the reinvestment, how can you become capitalist? Capitalist means when you earn money, you keep some for the family. You spend the money for company. But here, when Hinduism, they focus on dharma, they will do social service. How much ever you are earning money, you spend on temples, you spend on pilgrimage. Okay, so that is the reason why he will compare Protestant ethics with Hindu ethics. He will compare Hindu ethics with religion in China. Taoism is a religion in China. He will compare with that religion, and he will see why in many religions, all the religions did not promote capitalism. Only few religions promoted capitalism. For that matter, you see, in Islam also money lending is crime. When money lending is not happening, how can you go for business? You understand my point? Capital needs to be there. So this is how he will compare. We will discuss one by one comparison. But you understood the essence? Simple. Weber ఏం చేశాడు అంటే, what Weber understood is, Weber understood that there are some religions like Protestant ethics, Protestant religion. In that religion, we see some kind of ethics followed by the society. That ethics which is followed by the society led to the rise of capitalism. So Karl Marx talked about capitalism, but Weber also talked about capitalism. Karl Marx talked about exploitative nature of capitalism, but Weber is talking about rise of capitalism through Protestant ethics. Now you understood? So this is how Weber talked about, as I said, no types of authorities, power and types of authority. He talked about legal rational authority. He talked about different types. There are different types we will be discussing. Charismatic authority, legal rational authority, we will discuss in our regular classes. So Weber talked about bureaucracy, and he talked about ideal type of bureaucracy. What are the features of bureaucracy? Fixed official jurisdiction means nothing but for every officer there will be certain limits. District collector is there, he is an Indian administrative officer, but he will have the power only in one district. Hierarchy, above collector there will be minister, you have chief minister. Next, written documentation means in bureaucracy there is a written documentation. You are an IAS officer, but you have certain rules and guidelines. You become an IAS officer, you cannot do whatever you want. Even the Prime Minister of India cannot do whatever he want. He have to abide by the constitution. Specialized expertise. In bureaucracy there will be specialists, there will be engineers, there will be doctors. That is also, engineers is nothing but specialist. And next, separation of office and person. There will be separation of powers in bureaucracy. So these are the ideal type of bureaucracy. Okay. Next, types of authority. As I said, no, traditional authority. Traditional authority is based on traditions. Father is traditional authority. Grandfather is traditional authority. Sarpanch, village sarpanch is traditional authority. Earlier, you know, every village used to have that Pedarayudu. Okay, Rajnikant. And everyone used to follow that Rajnikant. So traditional authority. Next, charismatic authority. Charismatic authority is Gandhiji is charismatic authority. That is the reason why when Gandhiji said that salt Dandi March, when Gandhiji said that non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, people followed or not? So authorities will be traditional authorities. Traditional means traditionally who have the power. Traditionally village heads have the power. Traditionally Kap Panchayats have the power. Now charismatic authority is based on individual. Individual have the power. Gandhiji is charismatic authority. Hitler is charismatic authority. Some people, Hitler also has charisma, no? If Hitler did not have the charisma, why would people follow Hitler orders? So positive, negative will also be there. So charismatic authority is person based authority. Sadguru is charismatic authority. Now we have Sadguru. Virat Kohli is also that charisma. Virat Kohli also has that charisma. Next, rational, legal rational authority means based on the contemporary context we have legal rational authority. IAS officer is legal rational authority. Doctor is legal rational authority. For suppose if at all you have cough, so your friend said that you have to wear this tablet, you have to use this tablet. Immediately you will not believe in him. You go to the doctor, even the doctor said the same medicine, then you will use that medicine. That is legal rational authority. So in the present context, we have this legal rational authority. In ancient society, we have traditional authority. In ancient and present society also, we have charismatic authority. So this is how Weber talked about different types of authority. So these are the concepts of Weber. What are the concepts? Social action, interpretative sociology, value neutrality, ideal type, Protestant ethics. Gurtubetkondi, these all concepts we will learn in 7 to 8 classes. Means around 10 to 15 hours we will learn. But I discuss this in briefly. If you don't have comprehensive understanding also, no need to worry. I am just giving you introduction to these concepts. I am not explaining these concepts in detail. Now, when you do comparison between Marx, Durkheim and Weber, okay, comparison between Karl Marx, Durkheim and Weber. What did I say? What is the perspective of Karl Marx? Conflict perspective, class struggle, one class versus other class. He always looked into society from conflict only. No, who is owning economic material benefits? Who are not owning material benefits? People who are owning material economic power or material conditions, material resources. The people who are not owning the material resources, people who are owning the material resources will exploit the people who are not owning the material resources. You understand the point? And people who are not owning the material resources will develop class consciousness and will revolt against the people who are owning material resources. That is conflict perspective. Emile Durkheim, functionalism. Why did he study about religion? What is the functional role? Why did he study stability? Means nothing but religion is playing the functional role. Okay, why did he, if at all he'll study about marriage, family, all these things. In all these institutions, Durkheim is saying that family is playing a functional role. Religion is playing a functional role. Education is playing a functional role. Durkheim will say that what is the role of social institution of education? The role of social institution of education is functional role. It is playing a functional role. What is the functional role? In uniting the society, in bringing stability in the society. So that is how Durkheim talked about functional aspects. Means nothing but what are the functional role played by this society. Okay. Max Weber, he is focusing on interpreting that social action. Okay, now you understood perspective, conflict perspective, functional perspective and interpretative perspective. Next, what is the core focus of Karl Marx? Class struggle, capitalism, oppression and exploitation. What is the Durkheim? Social solidarity and integration. He is only looking into, he want to unify the society. Max Weber, he want to understand the meanings behind actions. If an individual is behaving in this way, why he is behaving? If there is a Protestant individual from Protestant religion, Weber will say that why he is working hard? What is the meaning? What is the motive behind it? You understand my point? Why Protestant is becoming a successful capitalist? What is the motive behind this Protestant? He will say that that is Protestant ethics. Protestant ethics is promoting spirit of capitalism. You understand my point? Meaning behind a social action. Why a Jain is becoming successful businessman? What is the meanings and motives? Why a Hindu person is not able to become successful capitalist? According to Weber, okay, he is not having that ethics which is promoting capitalism, but Protestants are having that ethics. So every action, what is the meaning behind that action, he will be studying. Next, view of society. How Karl Marx viewed society which is shaped by economic factors. Emile Durkheim, like a biological organism. Emile Durkheim is functionalist. No, what he will say, every institution in the society is playing a functional role. Let me tell you. If you ask Emile Durkheim, what is the role of heart? He will say, heart is functioning for the proper, heart is helping for the proper body functions of humans. What is the role of eyes? Eyes is helping in viewing the society for the body. So Emile Durkheim will say how every body part is playing a functional role in the body. On the same lines, every institution in the society will play a functional role. That is the reason why we will call as an society is functioning like a biological organism. In a biological organism, when heart is playing its role, because of that, body is functioning effectively. Remember, if brain is stopped functioning, will the body function effectively? No. So Emile Durkheim is saying that every organ in the body is working for the functioning of the body. On the same lines, every institution is functioning for the working for the proper functioning of the society. That is why he called it as an like a biological organism. And every society is made up of what? Social action. Social action is only shaping society. Remember, Durkheim, society is shaping social action. Weber, social action shaping society. So made up of social meaningful actions. Method, historical materialism, positivism, non-positivism. Simple. Division of labor. Division of labor creates exploitation. Masters versus slaves, bourgeoisie versus proletariats, masters versus serfs. Here, Emile Durkheim. Why division of labor is there? In organic solidarity, in complex society, if there is no proper division of labor, then the society will be fragmented. So there should be a proper division of labor. So creates organic solidarity. Division of labor creates organic solidarity. In present society, if specialists are not there, will the society function? Specialist means engineers, doctors, not there. Will the society function? Will the society have stability? No. So, creates division of labor creates organic solidarity. And division of labor is part of rationalization process. Bureaucracy will also focus on division of labor. Collector will also divide work. For the bureaucracy to work efficiently, for the bureaucracy to be rational, then there should be division of labor. For suppose today I ask my students, see, we will start, tomorrow we will start third model of NCERTs, means 12th class NCERT. I did not make presentations. I did not make short notes. What did I say? I will ask 20 students who are sitting. I will say that divide the class into, divide these chapters. Every 5 students you have to work on first chapter. 5 students you have to work on second chapter. What I am doing? I am dividing the work. Bureaucracy. My class will be functioning effectively. That is what is called as a part of rationalization. Ardhamaindi point. Part of rationalization is in bureaucracy. When bureaucracy will be working effectively is when there is a rational process, rational division. Next, religion. As I said, no, Durkheim is saying that religion is playing a corrective role, stability. He is talking about the religion is promoting Protestant ethics. Here, Durkheim is saying that, Karl Marx is saying that when you get intoxicated, you will lose consciousness. Why people who are having hardships, why they consume alcohol? Because they want to forget their pain and they have to move forward. Karl Marx is also saying that religion is acting as an opium. Opium is drug of the masses. Religion is helping business class to maintain their power in the society, and workers to become dependent on owners. You understood? What religion will say? Religion will say that you should not go for revolt. You should not go for conflict. But Karl Marx is saying that, Karl Marx is saying that until and unless you don't go for conflict, you cannot eliminate bourgeoisies. Why did slavery eliminated? Because slaves fought against masters. Why did feudalism ever eliminated? Serfs got united against masters. When will capitalism end? When proletariats revolt against bourgeoisies. But what religion is saying? Religion is saying that you have to be obedient, you have to be peaceful, you should not go for conflict. So religion is acting as an opium of masses and leading to exploitation. Simple point, sir. Religion ఏం చెప్తుంది అంటే ఎవరిని క్వశ్చన్ చేయొద్దు, ఎవరిని క్రిటిసైజ్ చేయొద్దు అని. కార్ల్ మార్క్స్ ఏమని చెప్తున్నాడు? క్వశ్చన్ చేయకపోతే bourgeoisies will become more powerful and class consciousness will not develop. So class consciousness is not developed because of religion. People in the name of religion, see, I'll give very simple example why Durkheim is criticizing religion and how Karl Marx is criticizing religion, and how Karl Marx is saying that religion is leading to exploitation of workers. If you work from morning till evening, you got 1,000 rupees. Okay. Next day you worked for same time, you got 1,000 rupees. But at the end of the day, you got around 30,000, but your owner got 30 lakhs. Now, if you are a true follower of religion, what happens is you think that because God or in last birth I might not have done something good. That is the reason why I was born as laborer. In last birth, he have done something good. He is born as owner. Now, don't you think religion is promoting this thought process? If religion is promoting this thought process, will people develop that revolution? My money is being exploited by owner. That is what I am trying to say. Religion is acting as an opium of masses, and that is the reason why, because of religion only, class consciousness is not developed. When you don't develop class consciousness, who will revolt to industrialist? That is, now you understood my point, the perspective of religion. Next, change. How change happens? Through class struggle. He is talking about change through gradual evolution. He said no, societies during your grandparents also education was there, it has a structure, school was there. During your parents also school system was there. When you studied, school system was there. But is the school structure same? No, it changed. So gradually it will change. Change happens through rationalization of society. When you promote rationality, you promote legal rational authority, so that through that change happens. Famous works, these are the books which are being written. So these are the Western scholars. This is how, briefly, without going into much technicalities, I can introduce you Western thinkers. Now we will discuss about Indian sociologist. In Indian sociologist, first we will discuss about G.S. Ghurye. Next we will be talking about D.P. Mukherjee, Durjati Prasad Mukherjee. Next we will be talking about A.R. Desai. Then we will be talking about M.N. Srinivas. Okay. Now, When we talk about G.S. Gurye, he was before G.S. Gurye, Westerners understood Indian society. Westerners studied Indian society. They did not, Indian sociologists or Indians could not understand Indian society, or no one have written about Indian society. So that is the reason why Westerners always have a bias towards Indian society. And for that matter, Westerners were having only book view. Like when you are talking about, do you know, when we talk about caste system, and everyone think, Westerners think that in India there are only 4 castes: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudras. People of India know that there are so many subcastes. In Brahmins also, there are fish-eating Brahmins. In West Bengal, you have Brahmins who eat fish. In Brahmins who are non-vegetarian Brahmins, vegetarian Brahmins. There are Brahmins who worship Shiva, worship Shiva. There are Brahmins who worship Vishnu. So many divisions are there. So Westerners could not understand Indian society, Indian society better. So that is the reason why Indian sociologist emerged. And you know, first sociologist of India who institutionalized sociology in India was G.S. Gurye. That is the reason why he was a father of Indian sociology. He studied Indian society. He first Indian who studied Indian society, who understood Indian society in a better way. Okay, he studied many dimensions. We'll discuss once after giving overview of 4. I'll discuss about specifically about these thinkers. When G.S. Gurye studied about relationship between caste and race, G.S. Gurye studied about race. What is the influence of race in studying caste system? G.S. Gurye studied about caste system. G.S. Gurye studied about tribes. Okay, when everyone was talking, when Westerners were understanding tribes are separate from Indian society, G.S. Gurye said that tribes are not separate. Tribes are part of Indian society, but compared to other people, tribes are backward. So he said that tribes as backward Hindus. He understood the culture of India. He studied Indian society through text by giving importance to epics, folklores. Epics and Ramayana, Mahabharata. So through folklores means nothing but folklores. In villages, you know, Janapada Geyalu unte judandi, regional songs. So from that, he studied Indian society. So his study of Indian sociology is called as an Indology. Indology is studying Indian society to scripts, text. Scripts means Ramayana, Mahabharata, or whether it might be the Sanskritic text, Vedas, Puranas, Upanishads. Through those texts, you are studying Indian society. That is Indology. Okay. Now, G.S. Gurye was the first sociologist who studied institutionalization. Sociology means he studied the sociology. He established sociology department in Bombay. Later, sociology department established in, after Bombay, we see sociology department established in Kolkata. Next, Lucknow. Okay, so this in 1919 sociology department idanta avasram ledu objective, because you don't have any objective examination, but for your understanding, in 1990 G.S. Gurye established Bombay department, sociology department in Bombay. Later in 1921 it got established in Lucknow, then Kolkata. Now when we move to D.P. Mukherjee is famous because he established sociology in Lucknow. Okay, D.P. Mukherjee and along with other 2 sociologists. Okay, we will be talking about those sociologists. Okay, D.N. Majumdar. There was this there was a trio of sociologists who established that sociology department in Lucknow, whether it might be D.P. Mukherjee and D.P. Mukherjee, R.K. Mukherjee, Radha Kamal Mukherjee. So in Lucknow, there is a trio అంటే ముగ్గురు, త్రిమూర్తులు, 3 people who are D.P. Mukherjee, R.K. Mukherjee, Radha Kamal Mukherjee, next D.N. Majumdar. These 3 people strengthened sociology in Lucknow. Okay, in Lucknow. And D.P. Mukherjee, sociology is nothing but he criticized Western understanding of sociology, and D.P. Mukherjee criticized Western understanding of sociology, and he emphasized on understanding Indian sociology or Indian society through giving importance to by understanding Indian. He first of all, D.P. Mukherjee rejected the Westerner understanding of Indian society because Westerners have bias and Westerners don't understand Indian traditions and Indian heritage properly. So D.P. Mukherjee emphasized on Indian traditions and Indian heritage, historical heritage. Through these traditions, he understood Indian society. Do you understand my point? So he said that these traditions are parampara. Heritage is heritage is Atihya. Okay, Atihya is heritage. Heritage, monuments are Indian heritage. Okay, India has vast heritage from the past. Okay, Indus Valley civilization, there is so much of heritage we carry. That heritage, through traditions and heritage, we understand Indian society. Okay, so D.P. Mukherjee is understanding Indian society by giving importance to traditions, family traditions, marriage traditions, cultural traditions, religious based traditions. By giving emphasis to these traditions, we are understanding Indian society. By giving importance to the heritage which India is carrying, that heritage, whether it might be the heritage which is being carried by monuments, whether it might be the civilizational heritage, through that when you are understanding Indian society. Now immediately Mirela Adgaru, students will ask, sir, G.S. Gure is also studying Indian society through Indology. D.P. Mukherjee is also studying society through traditions. What is the difference? G.S. Gure is studying through text. Itihasas is studying through like Upanishads, all these things. D.P. Mukherjee is also studying through traditions. More or less in this Upanishads also traditions will be emphasized. What is the difference? So G.S. Gure is understanding, simple, G.S. Gure is understanding Indian society through past. He is understanding present Indian society to past. Okay, chala important. What is a comparison? But you will get this comparison when you understand properly. Okay, you will understand. When you are talking about G.S. Gure and D.P. Mukherjee. G.S. Gure is understanding present through past, means past traditions, Upanishads, Vedas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, or folklores. Many tribes have folklores. Means nothing but tribes don't write. They orally, there is a oral history also. When you go to tribes, now when you go to Samakka Saraka Jatara, don't you see, there is a oral history of Samakka Saraka. There is no book written by for Samakka and Saraka. Now in the book we are writing about history of Samakka and Saraka. But how do you know about the history of Samakka Saraka? Orally. The tribes used to tell orally. So through that you are understanding Indian society. So G.S. Gure is understanding present Indian society to past. D.P. Mukherjee is also understanding society, but he is understanding He is looking into present, he is looking into past, and he is talking about future society. Okay, so that is how they are understanding. At the end of the day, G.S. Gray is talking about Indological perspective. G.S. Gray is talking about is using dialectical approach. Remember, we talked about dialectical in Karl Marx. What is dialectical approach? Social changes through changes in ideas. Now, that is what I said. G.S. Gray is talking about Indian society through past, through Vedas, Upanishads. Acha, during Ramayana, Mahabharata, Ram is an obedient son, and Ram has these ideal qualities. This is the beauty of Indian society. He is writing about that. But D.P. Mukherjee is saying that in the past, family traditions was this. In the present, family tradition is this. And this is how these dialects we see, means nothing but ideas or traditions change from past to present, and through this it is changing into the future. So he is talking, D.P. Mukherjee is talking about changing traditions, how family values are changing, how marriage values are changing. Earlier marriage was considered as sacred, now marriage is changing. You understand my point? So he is talking about changes taking place in traditions. He is talking about how people used to give significance to heritage. Many people, I heard many sociologists, not professors, but those who teach sociology, they will say that D.P. Mukherjee is following the Marxist method. Very important. D.P. Mukherjee is not following complete Marxist. He is following the dialectics which is mentioned in Marxist sociology. This is where conceptual clarity is important. చెప్పే వాళ్ళకే కాన్సెప్చువల్ క్లారిటీ లేనప్పుడు స్టూడెంట్స్ ఇంకెంత డివియేట్ అవుతారు చూడండి. క్లియర్ చూడండి, వెరీ వై ఐ టుక్ NCERT బుక్స్ classes. This NCERT book clearly saying D.P. Mukherjee is influenced by dialectics idea of Marx, but he is not Marxist. But in some books, unfortunately, in some books who have written for optional, D.P. Mukherjee was considered as Marxist. That is why conceptual clarity is important. Once you get conceptual clarity, నేను చెప్తున్నాను చూడండి, sociology is nothing but word play. Essence, once you understood, it is nothing but word play. So now you understood what is the difference between understanding society. G.S. Gray, D.P. Mukherjee. A.R. Desai is Marxist. A.R. Desai is a Marxist follower. He looked Indian society from Marxist perspective. What is Marxist perspective? He looked to caste from Marxist perspective, means exploiters and exploitees. He looked to family from Marxist perspective. Men are exploiting women. So on this perspective, he looked every institution from material conditions. A.R. Desai is famous for his study on Indian national movement. Indian national movement. Historians write Indian national movement from the lens of events, but A.R. Desai wrote Indian national movements from changing material conditions. Before the Britishers, what were the material conditions? Who were owning the material conditions? Who were the owners of material? Material condition means who were the owners of land. After Britishers, who were the owners of land? So A.R. Desai talked about Indian national movement from the changing material conditions. A.R. Desai said that before Britishers, in India, there were no one person owning the land. A.R. Desai, in his theory, A.R. Desai on Indian national movement. A.R. Desai on Indian national movement. What did A.R. Desai say? That before Britishers, land in India I'm not talking about some other country. Land in India was owned by, very important, community. Means what do you understand by community? Village where all the villagers were owners of the land. But after Britishers, when they realized that land is the source of revenue, they started becoming the owners of land. Now who became the owners of land? Britishers. Earlier who were the owners of land? Community. Now when Britishers became the land, they introduced middlemen, zamindars, rayatwar, mahalwari system. You understand my point? So that is how Indian national movement was looked by A.R. Desai from the lens of economy, material conditions. Who are the owners of land? Okay. Next, M.N. Srinivas. M.N. Srinivas is an Indian sociologist who emphasized on social change, how society is changing. He emphasized on caste system. He emphasized on field study. Remember participant observation method. I said no, Rampura village he lived and studied. He studied about social change, how caste is changing. Earlier in Indian society, how caste was static. Now how caste became dynamics. How caste equation is changing. How caste dynamics is changing. How caste is playing a role in understanding society. So this is how M.N. Srinivas studied Indian society. Now we understood briefly how these Indian sociologists will be studying. Now, these questions, you have to write this question. Okay. So I'll send you you people. I'll take your contact. I'll send you. Already they will also upload it in app also. But I'll send you. Okay. If I share with few people, you can share with your friends. Okay. So Indian sociologist G.S. Gure, D.P. Mukherjee. Now, so G.S. Gure is a founder of Indian sociology. G.S. Gure is a founder of Indian sociology. And G.S. Gure is the father of institutionalizing sociology in India. As I said, no, because he started sociology department in Bombay. Now, he worked on, see, what is the famous work of G.S. Gure is famous for his book on caste and race in India. What is that book? Caste and race in India. Okay. First of all, what do you understand by race? Race is based on biological features. If you are based on biological features, if you are differentiating, that is what we call as a race. White, black, you understood. Caste is based on based on purity and pollution, based on hierarchy. Okay, that is caste. Now, before G.S. Gure, before Indian sociology studying Indian society, who studied Indian society? Western scholars. Western people studied Indian society. Now what happened is, Western sociologists, what they understood through understood Indian society is, they thought that in West, how white people are dominating, blacks are dominated by whites. On the same lines, this race entered into India. Those white race people became the upper caste and black race people became the lower caste. So Western sociologists understood that race is shaping caste. Okay, means race is shaping caste. Now, G.S. Gure also studied about relationship between caste and race. What Western sociologists said that race is shaping caste. Okay, race is Aryan race, Aryans are superior race. Now, you know, in different subjects, there is a concept called diffusionism. Diffusionism is from one place, people came to different place and they subordinated the people. So, you know, there is a concept called diffusionism. What is diffusionism means? This Aryans know. The original Aryans, the homeland of original Aryans is Europe and Persia. Now Iran is there, no? That region. So the concept of racial diffusionism. In your NCERT, there is a word, only there is a word. They did not explain diffusionism, but we are explaining diffusionism because I have to say no. Even Gurye followed on diffusionism. That we will discuss in our classrooms, no need to worry. But as it is included, to make it easy, we are discussing. What is diffusionism? Aryans were the original inhabitants of Europe and Persia. Persia is Iran. From there, they entered into Central Asia. From Central Asia, they entered into India. They came to India. In India, what they have done is, okay, in India, what they have done is, they entered into India, okay, they entered into India and they subordinated. In India, there are original inhabitants, means people who are living in India originally. These Aryans came to India and subordinated, means they occupied the domination over subordinated people, and these Aryans dominated subordinate people. Now don't you think rulers versus masses? Automatically, sometimes masses will also become rulers. How to make sure that masses should not become rulers? These rulers should have some identity. To maintain their domination, they introduced a political notion called Brahmanism. We are religiously superior. So through this diffusionism only, once we consider it as an Aryan race, Aryans are superior race, white race, they entered into India and they subordinated these people, and that is how race translated into caste. Many Western sociologists believed in this notion. G.S. Gurye also borrowed this idea. But as I said, no, G.S. Gurye will not completely accept Western notion. But G.S. Gurye said that this is applicable to North India. In North India, Aryans came and subordinated in original inhabitants. But in South India, you don't see that, because you know, in South India you have Dravidians. Within the Dravidians also there are upper caste. So the concept of diffusionism is borrowed from Western sociologists, but he made changes to this concept. So this is mentioned in his book Caste and Race in India. What is the conclusion of the book? Yes, caste originated from race only, but it is true only in North India. In South India, you see Dravidians only, you see indigenous people only, but caste system emerged. So caste system in North India is outcome of caste, race taking the shape of caste, but it is not true in South India. In South India, original inhabitants only developed this hierarchy. Okay, so this is how he talked about diffusionism, but he talked about limitations in explaining diffusionism in Indian society. He saw South India versus North India, there is a different adaptation of caste system, that he talked in caste and race. You understand my point? Next, G.S. Gurye talked about family. G.S. Gurye talked about caste system. G.S. Gurye talked about urbanization, urban cities. G.S. Gurye talked about kinship. G.S. Gurye talked about tribes. Tribes, when G.S. Gurye was talking about tribes, what he said is, Western scholars Western scholars, particularly there is a scholar name, anthropologist named Warrior Elwin. Warrior Elwin said that tribes are isolated people. Tribes are isolated people from mainstream society. Means tribes are different from mainstream society. So tribes are different from mainstream society. But G.S. Gure criticized Warrior Elwin, and G.S. Gure said that G.S. Gure said that within the mainstream society, tribes are backward. You understood? So what you have to do is, tribes have to be developed such that they will integrate into mainstream society. So this is how G.S. Gure talked about caste, G.S. Gure talked about tribes, okay, G.S. Gure talked about family, okay. So now you see, caste and race theory criticized British colonial theory. Herbert Risley is that British colonial scholar who said that caste is equal to race because Aryans are superior. G.S. Gure argued that true only for North India. In other regions, intermixing occurred. In South India, intermixing happened. No. If Dravidians are not Aryans, within the Dravidians also there are upper caste. Okay. Endogamy was adopted later, not from the start. Endogamy means race. You see, yes, from they might have come from Persia. In North India, from the initially they started endogamy. Endogamy means white race people should only marry white race. But in South India, endogamy might have practiced later. That is the reason why you see intermixing of the people. So that is what has been talked about caste and race. Next, tribes as backward Hindus. Tribes are Hindus only, but they are backward Hindus. Next, he talked about 6 features of caste system. In his book on caste system, he talked about 6 features. One is segmental division of labor, segmental division of caste system. Okay, he talked about segmental division of caste, means nothing but, what do you understand by segmental division of caste is, caste is one closed group. That is the reason why they follow endogamy. Yes or no? Upper caste is nothing but one closed group. Upper caste has one god, has their own god. Upper caste will marry only within themselves. Upper caste will manage their own caste. Upper caste will not develop relations with other caste. Means it is one closed group. So one of the defining feature of caste system is segment form. Means nothing but caste is a mini republic. Brahmin is one mini republic in India. Hindu, Dalit or other caste, Kshatriyas is one mini republic. They form closed group. So that is what we call as in first segmental division. By birth you get the caste identity. You cannot change caste identity. Yes or no? And unfortunate thing in the end, when you go from one caste to other caste, when you go from one religion to other religion also, when a Dalit is converted from Hinduism to Christian, he will be called as a Dalit Christian, but he will not be called as a Christian. So caste identity will not be changed. So when you understood this point? A segment means nothing but caste is a closed group. It is like one closed group. People are tied amongst themselves. You have caste panchayats, ka panchayats untai jude. You have ka panchayat. Ka panchayat will manage their own caste. Every caste will have their own deity. Like when you are talking about Yadavs, their caste deity is Krishna. When you are talking about other caste, they will have their own deity. So it is now one a closed group. So when G.S. Gure talked about features of caste system, first feature is segmental division. Second feature is hierarchy. There is an hierarchy in caste system, upper caste, lower caste. Okay, and there is a concept of purity and pollution. Upper caste will not eat the food by lower caste. There is a purity and pollution. Next, differential rights and duties. Yes, upper caste have more rights, lower caste has more duties. Yes or no? Service caste, OBCs, many OBCs are service caste, backward classes. They have to serve upper caste. They should not enter into their homes, but they have to serve them. Like Chakali community, Mangali community, we talk about Baba community, Dobi community. What is that? They are service caste. So differential rights and duties. Hereditary occupations. There is an hereditary occupation. Brahmin son will become Brahmin only. Okay. So next, endogamy. Endogamy is marriage within the caste. So this is how G.S. Gurrier understood what is the relationship between caste, race, what are the features of caste, and how do you understand tribes.